Number 1, the tailbone, your ghost tail. Imagine this. You're sitting in a chair, scrolling endlessly, when it hits you. Your body is literally resting on the ghost of a tail. Yes, congratulations, you're basically a haunted primate. The coccyx, also known as the tailbone, is the sad little stub of vertebrae at the very end of your spine. It doesn't wag, it doesn't swat flies, it doesn't even look cool. It just sits there, like an awkward punctuation mark at the bottom of your skeleton. But here's the kicker. Your DNA didn't forget about tails. It just sort of gave up on them. Millions of years ago, our ancestors rocked full tails, swinging through trees and balancing like furry gymnasts. Then humans decided walking upright was the hot new trend. Evolution slowly phased out the tail, but didn't clean up properly. So now you've got a crumbled reminder stuck to your spine, like someone moved out of an apartment and left a moldy pizza box behind. Oh, but it's harmless, right? Nope. This leftover bone can and does get injured. Sit too hard on something, fall in the wrong way, or simply exist with bad luck, and suddenly your ghost tail is screaming in agony. The condition even has an ominous name, coccydynia. Translation, your butt bone is mad at you. And trust me, nothing makes you feel less like a sophisticated human being than being taken down by a bone you didn't even ask for. And here's where it gets even creepier. Every once in a while, humans are born with actual tails. Not like cartoon raccoon tails, but real, fleshy, wiggly appendages. Most are surgically removed at birth because apparently parents don't want their kids showing up to kindergarten looking like a Pokemon. But the fact that it can happen at all proves your DNA still has the code for tails locked inside, just waiting for the right glitch. Even if you never sprout one, the ghost is always there. The muscles that once helped wag tails, you still have them too, tucked away in your pelvis like dead wires in an abandoned house. And when you get startled, those nerves might twitch as if your invisible tail just tried to puff up like a scared cat. That means in some deep primal layer of your brain, you're still wired to be a tail wagger. Creepy, right? So next time you settle down in a comfy chair, think about what's really happening. You're not just sitting, you're planting your entire body weight on the fossilized remains of an ancient balancing stick. You are, in essence, crushing your own evolutionary past every time you binge Netflix. The coccyx is like evolution's messy drawer, the one filled with old batteries, expired coupons, and a mysterious screwdriver. You'll probably never use it, but it's always there, sometimes causing more trouble than it's worth. Honestly, if your body were a software program, the tailbone is that broken feature the developers forgot to uninstall. Basically, you're part ghost monkey still carrying the stub of a tail you don't use, don't need, and might one day injure in the dumbest way possible. It's not just creepy, it's a reminder that your body isn't a perfect machine. It's a patchwork of half-finished projects and abandoned upgrades. And the tailbone, that's evolution's way of saying, yeah, I didn't feel like cleaning up.
Number 2, goosebumps, your broken fur alarm. Picture this. You're standing in a cold grocery store aisle, holding a suspiciously frozen bag of peas, when suddenly your skin prickles. Tiny hairs rise. Boom! Goosebumps. Adorable name, right? Wrong. That is your body trying to deploy an ancient defense system that no longer works. You're basically watching a caveman app glitch on your skin. Here's how it was supposed to go down. Back when your ancestors were rocking thick fur coats, goosebumps were a survival hack. Tiny muscles at the base of every hair follicle, called erector pili muscles, contract when you're cold or scared. This would puff up the fur, trapping air for insulation, or making you look bigger and scarier to predators. Think angry cat mode. It's like nature's version of inflating an airbag or hitting the intimidate button. But fast forward to you, a mostly hairless ape with patchy fuzz. When those same muscles fire, nothing useful happens. Your body hair is so thin it might as well be painted on. Instead of insulation, you just look like a plucked rotisserie chicken. Instead of intimidation, you look like you're mildly uncomfortable at a middle school dance. And it doesn't stop there. Goosebumps don't just show up when you're cold. They also appear when you're emotional. Fear, nostalgia, awe, or that one part in a song that gives you chills. Scientists call this emotional piloerection, which sounds like something a sketchy garage band would name themselves. Basically, your nervous system still links strong feelings to fur puffing mode, even though the fur is long gone. It's like your body keeps hitting a special effects button, but the smoke machine hasn't worked in millennia. The creepiest part? Your brain hasn't gotten the memo. In MRI scans, the same circuits that fire when a cat puffs up its tail still light up in you. Your nervous system is preparing you to face a saber-toothed tiger while you're just listening to Adele. It's evolution's equivalent of someone screaming fire in a movie theater when someone just burned popcorn. And oh yes, goosebumps can get weird. People with certain neurological conditions can get asymmetrical goosebumps. One arm fluffs up while the other just chills. Some medications make you erupt in random waves of goose flesh, like your skin is shivering without permission. Even corpses can get goosebumps post-mortem as muscle spasm, which is why morticians sometimes find the freshly dead looking like they've just heard a creepy ghost story. What makes this especially unnerving is how universal it is. Every human still has the goosebump reflex coded into their biology. You can't turn it off. It doesn't matter if you're a biker in leather or a grandma in a sweater. If you walk into a cold room, your skin's going to try and cosplay as a woolly mammoth. Evolution has essentially left you with a broken car alarm that still insists on going off every time the wind blows. So the next time you're watching a horror movie and the soundtrack builds and you feel those tiny prickles up your arm, remember, that's not just chills. That's your body trying to fluff up the imaginary fur coat it thinks you're still wearing. Somewhere deep in your DNA, evolution still believes you're a shaggy primate that needs to look intimidating in the face of danger. Spoiler, you don't. You just look like you need a sweater. Basically, goosebumps are your body's haunted house feature, a reflex left over from when don't freeze to death and don't get eaten were your top daily concerns. Today, they're just creepy little reminders that your body is wired for a world you don't live in anymore. And that, my friend, is why you'll never hear a love song the same way again.
Number 3. Wisdom teeth, your dental time bombs. Let's talk about the absolute freeloaders of your mouth, wisdom teeth. These things are like squatters who move in uninvited, wreck the place, and then demand expensive eviction fees. They sound noble, wisdom teeth, as if they're ancient philosophers hiding in your gums, but in reality, they're evolutionary booby traps waiting to explode inside your jaw. Here's the backstory. Millions of years ago, humans had massive jaws built for a life of chewing raw plants, bark, roots, and tough meat. Imagine gnawing on a tree branch for dinner. Yeah, not exactly soft tacos. Bigger jaws meant more space for extra molars in the back. Those molars were the heavy-duty grinders, and they actually helped early humans survive. But then, things got easier. We discovered fire, cooking, and tools. Suddenly, food got softer, jaws started shrinking, and brain cases started expanding. It was like nature said, let's trade in some chewing power for more brain power. The problem? Teeth didn't get the memo. Evolution left the blueprint in, and so modern humans still grow these extra molars even though most of us don't have the jaw space to fit them. That's where the horror begins. Instead of politely sliding into place, wisdom teeth often grow sideways, jam into neighboring teeth, or get trapped beneath the gum line. This is called impaction, and it can cause infections, cysts, and pain so intense you'll swear your jaw is plotting against you. Basically, your mouth becomes a dental war zone, and the only solution is usually surgery. And let's talk about that surgery. If you've had your wisdom teeth out, you know the drill. Literally. Dentists have to cut open your gums, sometimes saw through bone, and yank those teeth out with medieval-looking tools. Afterwards, you're left with chipmunk cheeks, a liquid diet, and a pharmacy's worth of painkillers, all because your body is carrying around ancient dental software that hasn't been updated in a million years. But here's the really creepy part. In some rare cases, impacted wisdom teeth can form cysts that hollow out parts of your jawbone. Imagine your skull slowly carving out its own cave system like it's auditioning to be Carlsbad Caverns. That's right, your mouth can literally eat itself from the inside out. And it all starts with teeth that don't even need to exist.
The irony is, not everyone gets them. Some people only grow one or two, some get all four, and a lucky few don't grow any at all. Scientists think this is evolution slowly phasing them out. But in the meantime, millions of humans every year still suffer through the curse of wisdom teeth. It's like your jaw is still living in the Stone Age while the rest of your body moved on. So why haven't they disappeared completely? Because evolution is lazy. It doesn't delete features overnight, it just lets them hang around until enough generations pass that the feature fades away. That's why you're still dealing with dental grenades that have no purpose other than ruining your week. Think of it this way. Your wisdom teeth are like those useless apps that come pre-installed on your phone. You never ask for them, you don't use them, and they take up space. But unlike a phone app, you can't uninstall wisdom teeth with a swipe. You need scalpels, drills, and a lot of Novocaine. So yeah, every time you think about how far humans have come, smartphones, space travel, AI, remember this. Your mouth is still wired for chewing raw mammoth steak. And until evolution gets its act together, you'll probably end up in a dentist chair, mumbling through swollen cheeks about how you don't even eat bark. Basically, your wisdom teeth are time bombs in your jaw, ticking remnants of a diet you'll never eat, designed for a jaw you don't have, just waiting to make you suffer. Wisdom? More like chaos.
Number 4. The appendix, your biological grenade. There's a tiny organ hiding in your lower right abdomen that basically exists just to scare the hell out of you. Say hello to your appendix, the biological equivalent of a grenade with the safety pin halfway pulled. For decades, doctors called it useless, vestigial, or my personal favorite, nature's practical joke. But useless or not, this thing has killed more humans than most of the predators we evolved to fear. So what is it exactly? Picture a limp little finger dangling off your large intestine. That's your appendix. Millions of years ago, it may have been a fermentation chamber, helping our plant-chewing ancestors digest fibrous diets full of bark, leaves, and roots. Basically, it was the kitchen blender of the gut. But once humans started cooking food and inventing agriculture, digestion got way easier. The appendix lost its day job and just hung around. But here's the horror movie twist. Sometimes it decides to attack. Out of nowhere, the appendix can swell, get blocked, or become infected. That's appendicitis, and when it bursts, it spews toxic bacteria into your abdominal cavity, basically turning your insides into a septic battlefield. Before modern surgery, appendicitis was a death sentence. Even today, if you ignore the warning signs, it can go from meh, a stomach ache, to life-threatening emergency faster than a college student downs instant noodles. And the symptoms? Oh, they're delightfully vague. Pain around the belly button, maybe shifting to the right, a little fever. It's like your appendix is trying to prank you, disguising itself as mild food poisoning before dropping the hammer. By the time you realize it's serious, you're in the ER begging a surgeon to cut out the ticking time bomb before it explodes. Now here's where it gets creepier. Scientists used to think the appendix had zero purpose in modern humans, but recent research suggests it might act like a safe house for good bacteria, a little bunker where friendly microbes hide out during gut infections, ready to repopulate your digestive system afterward. So technically, it might be useful. The problem is that the usefulness doesn't outweigh the whole occasionally tries to kill you thing. And yes, you can live perfectly fine without it. Surgeons just scoop it out, toss it, and send you home. Your body doesn't miss it, which raises the obvious question, if we don't need it, why is it still here? Answer, evolution is slow and sloppy. It doesn't Marie Kondo your organs. It just lets broken features hang around, sometimes for millions of years. And in this case, it left you with an organ that's about as reliable as a toaster that occasionally bursts into flames. Fun fact, some animals actually have giant appendices. Koalas, for example, rely on theirs to digest eucalyptus leaves. But humans? Ours is like a leftover side quest we never finished. It's small, moody, and highly explosive.
So next time you feel a weird stomach pain, maybe don't Google it. Because if you do, the internet will immediately whisper appendicitis into your brain, and you'll spend the next 6 hours poking your side nervously. That's the real power of the appendix. It doesn't just haunt your body, it haunts your imagination. Basically, your appendix is like an old landmine left in a field. Sometimes it just sits there quietly doing nothing, and sometimes it goes boom. Either way, it's proof that evolution is less intelligent design and more lazy contractor who forgot to finish the job.
Number 5. Tonsils. The betrayal at the back of your throat. Open your mouth wide in front of a mirror. Go ahead, do it. See those little fleshy lumps at the back of your throat? Those are your tonsils, and they're basically the bouncers of club human body. Their whole purpose is to stand guard against invading germs that try to sneak in through your mouth or nose. Sounds heroic, right? Like tiny immune system ninjas guarding the gates. Except here's the twist. Those guards are drunk, lazy, and sometimes start bar fights inside the club. Instead of protecting you, tonsils often become the infection. Tonsillitis? That's when your immune bouncers decide to throw a raging house party in your throat. They swell, they get red, and suddenly every swallow feels like you're gargling hot knives. Add in fever, bad breath, and the inability to eat pizza, and you've got yourself the absolute worst party crashers evolution ever left behind. Doctors used to think the best solution was simple: rip them out. For decades, getting your tonsils removed was practically a childhood rite of passage. Got a sore throat twice? Boom, out they go. Entire generations of kids were marched into surgery and rewarded with ice cream afterward, as if dairy products were the cure for major surgery. But here's the kicker. Most of those kids went on to live perfectly healthy lives. Turns out your immune system has plenty of backup forces scattered around your body. Tonsils were like interns, occasionally useful, mostly expendable. But oh no, we're not done. Tonsils have one more horrifying party trick: tonsil stones. If you've never had the pleasure, let me explain. Tonsils have little crypts, tiny pockets where food particles, dead cells, and bacteria can get stuck. Over time, this gunk hardens into foul-smelling nuggets that sit in your throat until you cough them up. They're called tonsillits, which sounds like a Tolkien but is actually worse. Imagine coughing out a chalky pebble that smells like a dumpster fire. That's your tonsils casually hoarding garbage like some kind of throat dragon. So why do we still have them? Well, science thinks tonsils do play a role early in life. Kids are germ magnets, and tonsils help train the immune system to recognize invaders. But by adulthood, they're mostly freeloaders. The immune system already graduated, but the tonsils never got the memo to retire. So they just hang around, occasionally getting infected, occasionally coughing up disgusting throat gravel, and occasionally sending you to an ENT surgeon for a "what the hell is wrong with me" consult. And the irony? Some people keep their tonsils forever and never have a problem. Others get hit with tonsillitis every winter like clockwork. It's a genetic lottery of throat pain, and you don't get to pick your ticket. So basically, tonsils are like security guards that sometimes let the burglars in, sometimes throw raves in the middle of your throat, and sometimes collect cursed treasure stones for no reason at all. Evolution could have ditched them centuries ago, but instead, it left you with a pair of unpredictable roommates living rent-free in your mouth. The next time you swallow and feel that slight irritation in your throat, just remember, it might not be allergies. It might just be your tonsils stirring, whispering, "Party at our place."
Number 6. Ear wiggle muscles, your broken animal superpower. Try this right now. See if you can wiggle your ears. Go on, give it a shot. If you can, congrats. You've got one of the weirdest party tricks left over from our animal past. If you can't, don't worry. You're still carrying the hardware for it. Your body just forgot how to use it. Here's the deal. Buried around your ears are little strips of muscle called the auricular muscles. In most mammals, these are essential survival gear. Cats, dogs, horses, they can rotate their ears like little satellite dishes, zeroing in on predators, prey, or the sound of a can opener. It's a finely tuned radar system. Humans? We inherited the muscles but lost the skill. Evolution basically left us with broken joysticks glued to the side of our heads. A lucky few can twitch their ears slightly, which impresses exactly 0 people at parties. The rest of us just sit there with useless muscles that spark with electrical activity whenever we hear sudden noises, like your body is slamming a button that no longer works. And that's the creepy part. Scientists discovered that when you hear a surprising sound, your brain actually tries to activate those ear muscles. Your nervous system sends the signal, but nothing happens. It's like pressing the elevator button for a floor that doesn't exist. The ghost of an ancient reflex still lives inside your skull, haunting you with a feature you'll never use. Some researchers even think we could relearn how to use them. With enough training, biofeedback, or electrical stimulation, it might be possible to awaken the ability to swivel your ears like a cat. But why? So you can win $5 on a bar bet? Not exactly a game changer. Of course, evolution loves to double down on its mistakes. Those same auricular muscles can sometimes spasm involuntarily, making your ears twitch for no reason. Imagine being in a job interview and your ears suddenly flicks like a nervous rabbit. No predator is nearby, no survival advantage is gained, your body just decided to be embarrassing for free. And even creepier, in rare birth defects, those muscles overdevelop, giving people ears that move noticeably with facial expressions. So when they laugh or raise their eyebrows, their ears flop around like startled fish. It's equal parts hilarious and unsettling, like watching your face sprout extra punctuation marks. Here's the big takeaway. You're carrying a broken animal superpower inside your head. It's the equivalent of downloading a new video game and finding the Special Abilities menu locked with a note that says, "This content expired 5 million years ago." And honestly, that's kind of tragic. Imagine how different human history would be if we'd kept fully functioning ear control. Soldiers could detect enemies sneaking up behind them, hunters could track prey without moving their heads, parents could hear their kids stealing snacks from another room. Instead, we got stuck craning our entire necks like confused owls. So yeah, every time you whip your head around because you thought you heard something, remember this. Your ears tried to move first. They failed, of course, but the ghosts of those muscles are still in there, twitching quietly, waiting for a predator that isn't coming. Basically, your ear muscles are evolution's equivalent of a broken flashlight at the bottom of a drawer. They're there, they technically exist, but all they do is remind you of a time when your ancestors had cooler features than you ever will.
Number 7. The third eyelid, your zombie eye flap. Lean in close to a mirror and look at the inner corner of your eye. See that little pinkish crescent of tissue sitting there like a forgotten scrap? That, my friend, is your plica semilunaris, the sad, shriveled husk of what used to be a third eyelid. Yep, you were supposed to have a bonus eyelid and evolution just left it half installed. In other animals, the third eyelid, also called the nictitating membrane, is a built-in superpower. Birds use it like a transparent windshield wiper to keep their eyes clean mid-flight. Cats and dogs flash theirs when they're sleepy, giving them that creepy alien look. Sharks, they slam theirs shut during attacks so they can munch on prey without scratching their eyeballs. Imagine being able to protect your eyes while still seeing perfectly fine. That's what you lost. Instead, humans got the beta version, a useless fold that doesn't move, doesn't clean, doesn't protect, it just sits there, sulking in your eye corner like an abandoned car part. If you've ever wondered why your eye feels dry after staring at screens too long, it's because your zombie eyelid refuses to help. Thanks, evolution. And it gets weirder. That leftover flap of tissue can still cause problems. It can get inflamed. It can sprout cysts. In some cases, it develops tiny growths called caruncles, which sounds like the name of a Lovecraft monster. Basically, your zombie eyelid doesn't do anything useful, but it can still turn on you like a bitter ex-roommate. Scientists think humans lost this feature as we evolved into more upright, brain-focused creatures. Protecting our eyes from sandstorms wasn't as necessary once we started living in caves, building huts, and inventing sunglasses. The nictitating membrane quietly shrank away, leaving behind nothing but the little pink crescent as a haunting reminder of what could have been. But here's the creepy cherry on top. The genes for a functioning third eyelid are still in your DNA. That means if the right mutation happened, some unlucky baby could, in theory, pop out with a semi-functional extra eyelid. Picture sitting next to someone in class and watching a translucent flap sweep sideways across their eyeball. You'd scream, they'd blank, and
Science would have a field day. And let's be real, wouldn't life be easier with a third eyelid? No more dust in your eye, no more dry contacts, no more awkward moments where you're trying to cry silently but your eyes are burning like you just chopped 40 onions. Instead, you're stuck blinking like a basic primate while your zombie eye flap hangs there, mocking you. So the next time you're tired and rubbing your eyes, look closely at that little pink crescent. That's not just skin, that's a fossil. A fossil made of flesh, reminding you that your body is basically a museum of broken features. You're walking around with a dead eyelid glued to your face, and it doesn't even have the decency to do its job. Basically, your plica semilunaris is the zombie eyelid you didn't ask for. Not alive enough to work, not dead enough to disappear, just waiting in the corner of your eye, whispering, "I used to be something."
Number 8. Male nipples. The blueprint error. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, or rather the nipples on the chest, specifically male nipples, the most obvious, most visible example of evolution shrugging its shoulders and saying, leave it in. Here's how it happens. When an embryo starts developing, it follows a basic blueprint that's mostly the same for males and females in the early stages. Nipples are one of the first features to form, stamped onto the design before sex hormones show up and announce, "This one's going male." By that point, the nipples are already there, like permanent doodles in your DNA. And since there's no biological emergency in leaving them, evolution doesn't bother deleting them. For females, nipples are essential, baby food factories that kept the species alive. For males, though, they're decorative at best. They just sit there like leftover buttons on a jacket you'll never fasten. No milk, no survival advantage, no evolutionary reason. Just spare parts glued onto your chest because nature was too lazy to do a clean edit. But here's where things get creepier. Male nipples can respond to hormones. With enough estrogen exposure, they can grow breast tissue and, yes, even lactate. It's rare, but it happens, usually due to endocrine disorders, certain medications, or extreme stress. Imagine waking up and realizing your body has suddenly booted up a feature you didn't even know was in the software package. Surprise, you're leaking. And then there's cancer. Because male nipples are made of the same tissue as female ones, men can get breast cancer too. It's less common, but it happens. And it's often deadlier because men usually don't check or notice until it's too late. So this so-called useless feature isn't just sitting there. It carries risks you didn't ask for. But the weirdness doesn't stop there. Around puberty, male nipples sometimes get swollen or tender for a while due to hormone surges. Basically, your teenage chest decides to cosplay as functional for a few months before realizing, oh wait, never mind. Awkward? Absolutely. Functional? Not at all. So why are they still here? Because evolution doesn't care about your comfort. It only cares whether a feature actively kills you or stops you from reproducing. Male nipples don't do either. They're harmless most of the time, so nature just lets them hang out like freeloaders at a party. The irony is culturally, they've become less useless anatomy and more weird social loophole. Women get fined for showing theirs, but men can strut around shirtless at the beach, displaying evolution's unfinished work like it's no big deal. Biologically, they're the same structure. Socially, one is scandalous, the other is just sunburned. So let's summarize. Male nipples are the evolutionary equivalent of a demo feature that never made it into the final release. They don't serve a purpose, but they occasionally glitch in surprising ways. They can swell, they can lactate, and they can even develop tumors. They're decorative, risky, and just a little bit haunted by functionality they'll never fulfill. Basically, your chest is carrying around 2 evolutionary Easter eggs left there because nature didn't bother to clean up its design draft. They don't feed babies, they don't attract mates, they don't make you run faster or fight better. They just sit there, confusing biology students and occasionally showing up in medical textbooks like a biological footnote that says, "Oops." So next time you glance in the mirror and wonder why evolution bothered to stick nipples on men, just remember your body is a patchwork mess, and sometimes the leftover features are too harmless to delete. Male nipples aren't useful. They're not dangerous most of the time. They're just the chest equivalent of a vestigial tail. Weird, awkward, and here to stay.
Number 9. Darwin's point, the phantom elf ear. Run your fingers along the rim of your ear. Go on, don't be shy. If you feel a tiny bump or thickened edge at the very top, congrats, you're carrying around Darwin's tubercle, also known as Darwin's point. It sounds like a trendy craft beer, but it's actually a genetic hiccup left over from when humans had slightly pointier ears. In many mammals, tall, pointed ears act like funnels, channeling sound waves more efficiently. Cats can pivot theirs like radar dishes. Bats use theirs as sonar reflectors. Even our primate cousins have more pronounced, useful ear structures for catching the faintest rustle of danger in the bushes. Humans, we flattened ours out. Somewhere along the evolutionary road, stealthy predators stopped being our main concern, and having pointy ears wasn't worth the trouble. But evolution, being the messy coder it is, didn't erase the feature completely. Instead, it just left behind the occasional bump glitch in the human blueprint. Around 10 to 35% of people have it, a tiny nodule on one or both ears, usually harmless, usually ignored. You might not even notice yours unless someone points it out. Then, of course, you'll spend the next 10 years being weirdly self-conscious about your ears in every photo. Here's the creepy part. That bump is more than just a random quirk. It's evidence that your ancestors' ears weren't shaped like yours. It's a fossil, encoded in flesh, whispering that at one point your family tree included beings who could hear and track sounds better than you ever will. In other words, your ears are haunted by their past. And Darwin's tubercle isn't just weird to look at, it's unpredictable. Sometimes it shows up symmetrically on both ears, sometimes it's lopsided, just one random bump like your DNA got lazy halfway through. It doesn't affect your hearing, but in rare cases, it's so pronounced that it can be mistaken for a cyst or growth. Imagine booking a doctor's appointment for your ear lump only to be told, nah, that's just evolution trolling you. Of course, in classic human fashion, we've found ways to make it weirder. Some cultures used to associate the bump with certain personality traits. In folklore, people with pointy or irregular ears were said to be more cunning, mischievous, or even magical. The origins of elf ears in myth might trace back to this exact evolutionary quirk. Congratulations, you're biologically cosplaying as a fantasy creature without even trying. The scientific name doesn't help either. Tubercle sounds like something you'd need antibiotics for. But nope, it's just cartilage folded weirdly, left to chill for eternity. A permanent reminder that evolution edits like a college student pulling an all-nighter, sloppily, with lots of typos. So what does it actually mean for you? Honestly, nothing. Darwin's point has no effect on survival, reproduction, or intelligence. It's the equivalent of having a birthmark on your skeleton. But that's the point. Your body is filled with these strange vestigial quirks, proof that you're walking around in a hand-me-down meat suit assembled from millions of years of trial and error. Basically, your plica semilunaris is your zombie eyelid you didn't ask for, not alive enough to work, not dead enough to disappear, just waiting in the corner of your eye, whispering, I used to be something.
Number 10. Body hair, your patchy ghost fur coat. Take a good look at yourself in the mirror. No, really, squint past the deodorant stains and existential dread and notice the random patches of hair scattered across your body. Your arms, your legs, your chest, maybe your back if genetics really decided to prank you. That, my friend, is what's left of your once glorious fur coat. And spoiler, it's not doing you any favors. Here's the backstory. Millions of years ago, your ancestors weren't the smooth, sweaty bipeds we are today. They were hairy, covered, mammalian chic from head to toe. Fur kept them warm in cold climates, shielded their skin from the sun, and made them look bigger to predators. Think less human and more low-budget gorilla. Hair was survival. But then came two big upgrades: fire and clothes. Once humans figured out how to cook food and wear animal skins, having a thick coat became less useful. In hot climates, fur was even dangerous, trapping heat and parasites. So evolution did a slow fade out. It didn't delete the code completely. Oh no, that would be too neat. Instead, it left you with patchy leftovers, like someone tried to shave a bear but ran out of razors halfway through. And now what? Most of that body hair is pointless. Sure, your eyebrows are still useful. They divert sweat away from your eyes.
Eyelashes help keep dust out, but arm hair, leg fuzz, chest rugs? Basically useless. You don't look bigger to predators, and unless you're starring in a werewolf movie, it's not intimidating anyone. But wait, it gets weirder. Some areas of hair actually do still serve a creepy purpose. Armpit and pubic hair act like scent diffusers, spreading pheromones during romantic encounters. Because apparently evolution thought smelling like a sweaty candle was sexy. That's right, those awkward patches exist to waft your signature aroma toward potential mates. Romantic? Not really. Biological? Absolutely. And then there's goosebumps. Remember those? Those tiny muscles at the base of each follicle were once responsible for fluffing up fur for warmth or intimidation. Now they just make your patchy fuzz stand up like static cling, turning you into a budget porcupine. Proof that your body still thinks it's covered in a luxurious coat when really you're rocking a sad mix of peach fuzz and random carpets. Even creepier, humans aren't actually hairless. You're covered in hair, head to toe, right now. Most of it is just so thin and pale you don't notice. Vellus hair, it's called. Fine, soft strands that blanket your entire skin. Babies are born with it. Adults keep it. It's invisible fur, a reminder that you're just one bad mutation away from looking like Cousin It. And of course, let's not forget the curse of body hair. It grows in the worst places. Nose hair, ear hair, random tufts on your shoulders. Why? Because evolution doesn't care about your tender profile. It only cares about keeping dust out of your lungs or reminding you you're still an ape. If you're shaving, waxing, or lasering it off, you're basically fighting a war against your own ancestry. So why didn't we lose all of it? Probably because hair still plays minor roles in protection and sensation. Those tiny follicles are wired with nerve endings that help you feel the lightest touch, like a mosquito landing. Without them, you'd be a bug buffet. So yeah, your useless fuzz occasionally helps you notice insects before they drain your blood. Small win, I guess. Here's the creepy punchline. Your body hair is proof you're wearing a broken winter coat. It's patchy, it's itchy, and it only sort of works. Evolution didn't give you sleek dolphin skin or a glorious lion's mane. Instead, it left you with random tufts of ghost fur that remind you daily that your ancestors were way hairier, way smellier, and probably way less worried about razor burn. Basically, you're a half-shaved ape with delusions of sophistication. And your body hair? That's just the haunted remains of the fur you'll never get back.